truth in advertising there, but it's called the Global Action Summit in Montreal. And so it was polluted with the progressive cabal of the Western world, Chrystia Freeland, Jacinda Ardern, Tony Blair. And they thought they would have an easy go of it in Montreal. However, they did not. Our journalists were on the street holding the politicians to account. And it's quite fascinating because this was really sort of a hidden conference. They didn't really want anybody to know about it. And, you know, the mainstream media, if they were there at all, they would report it glowingly. But our journalists went there to speak truth to power, which is the job of journalists, in case the mainstream media forgot.
And you know what was very interesting, Sheila, is that our own Lincoln Jay made headlines around the world. Well, maybe not headlines, but mentions around the world in the world press for having the utter audacity to ask the former New Zealand Prime Minister, how much fossil fuel did you burn to get over here to Canada, half a world away? And, you know, isn't that telling? The idea, and I think that's a very fair question to ask. You're all about, you know, lowering emissions, reducing your carbon footprint. There's the Daily Mail. And yet you're on a plane coming here. And don't we have the ability, Sheila, in this day and age, surely that's one thing we surely learned from COVID, was Zoom and Skype, that you don't actually have to be physically in the room with the technology of today. But no, there's those nice dinners, and I'm sure it was first class around the way. They weren't stuffing themselves into stowage class like we had to when we go on trips. And
it was like Snowpiercer back there. It was really something else. But yeah, these are the same insufferable ghouls who told us that Christmas could be done on Zoom, saying goodbye to your dying relatives, that could be done on Zoom. Everything could be done digitally, your birthdays, church, communing with your faith community, that could be done on Zoom, as though I can take communion over Zoom. They told us that's the best way to do things. And yet, as I say, these insufferable ghouls like Jacinda Ardern will literally circumnavigate the globe on first class or private jet to go somewhere to lecture you about the carbon footprint of your SUV so that you can have a comfortable, safe drive to work to pay their never-ending taxes.
And of course, Ardern didn't have an answer. She wasn't prepared for an insensitive question.
Also, let's just stop and go back to how the mainstream media reported a prickly yet relevant an entirely reasonable question that the mainstream media is too lazy or incurious or too colonized by government money to ask. They described it as heckling. It wasn't heckling. That's just a journalist doing their damn job. Wouldn't it be nice if more people than just a handful of independent journalists in this country actually did their jobs and asked these people as they pull up in their motorcade, why are you worried about my SUV? Look at all yours. It's astounding. By the way, we have a clip of Lincoln's question. Let's go to it instead of me describing it over and over again.
Check out this heckling.
Oh, you're heckling.
Hey, how are you? How much fossil fuels did you burn coming here to talk about climate change?
Leave her alone.
Hey,
Leave her alone.
I'm on a sidewalk.
No, leave her alone.
You can't touch me.
Leave her alone. You leave her alone.
Does that make sense?
You leave her alone.
Does that make sense?
Man, leave her alone.
You cannot touch me.
Leave her alone.
You can't put your hands on me.
Look at that puke hiding his face.
Dude, you can't touch me like that. I'm on a sidewalk, eh?
Please leave.
I'm not on the property.
Leave the former Prime Minister alone.
Sorry?
Just leave the former Prime Minister alone.
Yeah? You can't put your hands on me like that, eh? Just so you know.
Okay, so hang on here.
Question, Sheila.
That's not heckling. When you start off with, "Hey, how you doing? How much fossil fuels were burned for you to get here?" That's not heckling. That's a question. He wasn't like, "Hey, lady, stupid former prime minister, whatever." No, he asked a reasonable question, and that kid who put his hands on Lincoln. I think he works for the government, by the way. He's got his little Canadian lapel pin. I think we've figured out who he is, and he's going to be in a world of trouble when we're done with him. By the way, if you're watching this, buckle up, big guy. You're going to be in big, big, big trouble for putting your hands on our journalists. But even after Lincoln gets manhandled by this awful government staffer, he even responds politely. He's like, hey, by the way, you can't put your hands on me.
Yeah.
Can't put your hands on me.
I wonder if he was 9 meters away from the entrance, Sheila. Isn't that the no smoking law these days in most Canadian municipalities, right? So again, one law for thee, one law for me when it comes to at least that smoking pig. I'm glad we might know who he is. And again, we have to remind people that you're entitled to, I don't know, your opinion, but you can't get handsy on us, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, the audacity of that, and that is not the definition of heckling. You know, I've been at sports matches where I've seen heckling, right?
You should see me at wrestling.
Oh.
You should see me at wrestling. I'll heckle people to tears. That's not heckling. That was mild. That's a Lincoln doing his job as a polite but assertive journalist.
Yeah, that was, and I think, is that the New Zealand newspaper story where they were, you know, wringing their hands about the abuse that former parliamentarians, you know, and you know what? Here's what I would have done if I were her. I would confront Lincoln and say, well, here's why I'm here, and here's why there is a good reason for me to up my carbon footprint. But she's got nothing. That looks so bad when you put your head down like you've just been arrested and you make a beeline for the door. Didn't she think that somebody might ask a question or two about that hypocrisy? But I guess not, Sheila.
No, because she's coming to Canada where, as I say, the media is already completely colonized by the mind virus of Justin Trudeau's money.
You know what? You're so right.
She thought, oh, I'm going to have, it's a walk in the park. Trudeau has already taken care of what potential opposition there might be to my appearance in this country. She just had no idea that we still have independent journalists in this country. You
know, I think you're so right. I think she thought, this is a safe haven for me. Not only are these journalists in the mainstream media on board with my worldview, being left to far left, but the fact that blackface is their sugar daddy. They're being paid off to be polite and nice. So I can let my guard down. And here comes Lincoln J, like the proverbial skunk to the garden party, to ask her a completely fair question to which she has no answer. And this is a former parliamentarian? Give me a break, Sheila. Well, it just shows you how pathetic the mainstream media is in New Zealand as well. That she completely caught flat-footed. Like, if you're a politician, you look at Pierre Poilievre, he can spar with journalists to the left of him, but also journalists to the right. And it's almost like a muscle you have to flex constantly. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Your brain is a muscle, and these politicians are not using their brains. They can't think on their feet whatsoever. They've never even considered that someone might ask them difficult questions. Hey folks, that was a clip from the daily live stream. I co-host it Monday to Thursday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Alberta team takes over on Friday. Please tune in. And by the way, we want to hear your 2 cents worth. If you're able to make a minimal $5 donation, we will read your chat on the air live. Thank you.
Justin Trudeau's new censorship law, Bill C-18, it's a shakedown and a desperate attempt to keep the mainstream media afloat. Many have already lost their ability to access our Facebook and Instagram pages. The blackout will soon affect every user in Canada. We've partnered with Private Internet Access, a VPN provider dedicated to safeguarding digital privacy. For just $2 a month, you can maintain your access to our content across all your devices at piavpn.com/rebelnews.